Hi, Neelu.
Hi, Anthony.
I'm just putting it on Facebook now.
Sure.
No preparation. Well, we did a bit of preparation and I plugged it everywhere. Well, I could. We're on. So I want to share the link in a couple of places. Yeah, I was trying to share it on Freedom Talk Radio, then it said something. Sometimes Facebook comes in it. Oh, there we go. Got it. So I think we're live now. Oh, you're there. Oh, I didn't see you. Yeah.
Right.
So let me just share it on Freedom Talk Radio, and anybody watching, share it somewhere. We can only do so much. It's a bit fiddly sometimes. Yeah, I was trying to put it on Freedom Talk Radio and it came up with some admin things. So I put it on my own timeline. You should share it on your own timeline, Neelu.
It's just a data issue, isn't it? I don't know how much data.
It's not going to affect nothing. You're watching and streaming. It won't take more data.
Right. Okay. All right.
But it should be on your own timeline. Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so.
All right.
Yeah, guys, we're just setting up. Big deal from Neelu today. The bankers. Yeah, guys, we're just the bankers. Where we go. Yeah. Copy the link. And then share it, something like that. Okay, so yeah, Neelu is there. Let me just go for groups. We should have a professional volunteer sharer. I know a lot of people share our stuff, fantastic. But maybe we should have a professional person that knows how to share properly. Freedom Talk Radio, where are we? A lot of things with freedom in the name. I'm typing in Freedom Talk. Search. Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right, you there, Neelu?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm still.
Yeah.
I'll find the link, or don't know how to share the link, but just don't worry about it. I don't want to waste any more time. We just start.
Yeah, it's okay. Sometimes you just give it a little time to build up a couple of people, and then let me try and find your timeline. Because I think it should be at least on your timeline and everybody else's timeline for that matter.
I can give you the link for that. I can find the link.
I'm just going to paste the link on your timeline. So let me just find you, Neelu. You have so many names.
No, just the Ved Chaudhary.
Princess, the one with Chaudhary.
Just Ved Chaudhary is the only one I use.
All right. Okay. I didn't know that, you see. Write something. So the link is on your timeline now as we speak. So there we go. We're going to leave it at that, and hopefully some people can help us to get it out during the talk and after. All right. So Neelu.
Yeah.
Good morning. You're looking graceful. I can't see you now, but I saw you earlier, considering what you've been through. And you're achieving something for the rest of us, the rest of the country, the rest of the planet, I would say, against, dirty bankers and the agents, which include the illegal bailiffs and the court people,
And
all
the
on fake
gunpoint.
warrants.
And the guns, and the guns.
The
We're
guns,
fighting
the handcuffs, all the instruments of
invisible gun.
instruments of crime. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So tell us what you've had some breakthroughs, and I've done a couple of videos, one live and one with Laura Nina, which I, the best we could, but you weren't able to be present. So now here you are on a Sunday afternoon, chilly and cold all over the country. So, and then you have something, leave it till the end, I would suggest, in terms of compensation and that element. So tell us, give us an update. You kick off.
Yeah, so, these criminals, because they carry on with their crimes and their crimes get bigger and bigger, the longer you leave it, the more blatant it gets, more visible their crimes become. They've gone past the point where it's totally blatant what they're doing. And I was watching a bit of the video for Robert White, and I heard the officer say that he was going to frame him for rape. I mean, just coming out like some of these police have taken the judiciary into their own hands. And then we know about the Winston Leachman connection that hit the Romford County Court. He was sitting there as an immigration lawyer with a firearms license given to him by Sussex police. I've sent you the firearms receipt where they stole the firearms from John Hoth's farm. So John Hoth was put in prison by the Sussex Crime Commissioner. So, I've been doing the gun control of the judiciary whistleblowing with my dad since the early 60s. And it is now becoming so blatant that the whole world is run by guns. And there are no public services, there are no governments, they're all run by guns. Always have been since the 60s, since JFK was shot dead. That was the timeline. Yeah, that's all it is. It's just lawlessness, total criminal. They're assassins. The guns means assassins. They're bribery. It's fraud is a minor thing. It's all blackmail and bribery and
fraud
silence.
softens the violence, isn't it? But at the end of it, there's violence. They want to do something physical to you, lock you up.
No, they want to kill. They want to kill us all to steal our trust funds. No, it's a bottom line is that they've got a free, especially whistleblowers. You see, whistleblowers are target number one. But if you're a whistleblower, Anthony, firsthand, how many attempts on your life and your family's life. I've got 5 murders to deal with. And
I've got many physical bodily injuries. I don't talk about it a lot, but
yeah, but Anthony, their intention is, most people would not survive what you survived. That's the bottom line, okay? So, it's the same with me. The attempts on me are endless, and they're getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
And this last attempt, they were not expecting me to have any supporters. They waited outside for 2.5 hours. They said 8 o'clock. My friends were there at 8 o'clock, 7 of us. And at 10:30, I found a note in the door, said Walker Morris coming. It's going to be 10:30. And they started at 10:30, but my friends went out and spoke to them and told them to remove the white van off the front drive. Where's the warrant? No warrant.
Yeah.
And then they said, the court has sent us. So we said, which court? And they said,
which court? Yeah.
Yeah. So they said King's Bench Division, King's Bench Enforcement. And then we had to send an application over because I'd already done the application the night before. The security lost it. The security of the King's Bench Division lost it. Lost the track of my urgent injunction application. So they'd had it. Sorry?
How convenient.
So the court is under gunpoint. Everybody's under gunpoint. Romford County Court is under Winston Leachman's gunpoint. And that's where they're doing 20 possessions in one day, every 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes in one day, 20 homes are being taken. And these are all vulnerable. They're only picking on vulnerables. And they were expecting me to be there by myself. And luckily for me, heavens opened and these angels fell out the sky.
Right.
And these angels are not worth, they're no messing about angels. You know, they went out there and spoke to them and said, get out of here if you haven't got a warrant. And then they said, oh, we're going to call the police. I said, okay, call the police.
They're gonna call. Imagine that. I mean, it's normal, but how hilarious. The criminal is gonna call the police.
Yeah, they always do, because in this country, the law is the first person to call the police is the victim, isn't it?
I'm
how
not
they
aware
take
of
it.
any such law, Neelu. A criminal cannot call
No,
the police.
the practice of the criminal law.
In theory.
Yeah, yeah, no.
I'll come back to that later in the talk. I don't want to interrupt you, but I'll come back to that. The police being called. I come back to that. Carry on.
Yeah, so like basically the possession claim was struck out on the 5th of December. The bank's possession claim is ended because they were in contempt when they took the house in the first place, because my application to dismiss the claim on grounds of fraud had not been dealt with. And then I've asked the civil courts to transfer it to the criminal courts because the 2020 EWCA CRIM 369 was heard by the Criminal Appeals Court on the 28th of February 2020, where they tried to reduce the sentences, and the court both mostly said, you deserve what you got. But since then, they've continued with the fraud. So they call it a fraudulent trading. They call it money laundering is called fraudulent trading, and possessions are fraudulent trading, money laundering. So they said, well, clearly, since they did what they did to my late sister's house, they have now reached the contempt of the Criminal Appeals Court in that case. So the precedents have to be reset. That means 50 years was an insufficient deterrent. Criminal law is that by way of deterrent. If the punishment doesn't stop the crimes, then it's not enough. You have to show the world that you're running a democracy, and it means everyone understands what punishment is for what crime to stop it, so they don't happen. The whole point of criminal law is to stop crimes. But in this country, they milk crimes. They have a criminal cow in the shed, and they're milking it with all the crimes they're rotating, money laundering, and promoting criminals in the process. The more criminals go higher up, the more they milk the money laundering. So even the FCA reduced the fines from like 80 million to 45 million. That's questionable. And all the other fraud agencies that participated are now impotent. They are totally silent.
But the FCA itself is a criminal organization. They're a private company trading without insurance and coming under the guise of a regulator.
Well, they're breaching Section 4 of the Criminal Law Act 1967, which makes silence a crime equal to the gravity of the crime witnessed.
Yeah.
So that's the one that gets Parliament dissolved. That's the one that gets all the banks dissolved. They have been secretly securitizing our birth trust funds. They never give us any loans. They never generated any money. And the ledger, Anthony, you're the star for that point, ledger. I phoned Callum Davis of Walker Morris, who is not a solicitor, and Ellen McLean is not registered. So I phoned him. I asked to speak to her. She wouldn't speak to me. I spoke to her manager, Robert Standfeld or something, Standcraft or something, and he was shocked when I told him that I'd got a notice of eviction the last time whilst my application to dismiss the claim was pending.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So totally, they said, oh, we don't, I'll have a look in it. Callum Davis said, I'll have a look in the file to see if there's anything on there. But that means they'd have total no knowledge And when I phoned Maitland Chambers, asked to speak to the barristers, Edward Muley and Edward Granger, they say, oh, you have to speak to Walker Morris, nothing to do with us. But Walker Morris do not attend the hearings. Only the barristers. These barristers attend the hearings. There's nobody from Walker Morris. So they're passing the buck. They're denying liability for all the crimes they're committing. So I would say Lloyds Banking Group has the criminal liability because their bankers were prosecuted, even though in that transcript it says it's a gag on it, you can't publicize it. It basically, what was I saying? What was I going to say? I've forgotten the point I was making. I digress too much.
No, you're saying the Walker Morris solicitors who can't prove that they've paid a fee or they have a contract or nothing. They're saying they don't even attend the court. They're sending a barrister who himself doesn't have any substance.
Exactly, that's it. That was a point. The bank, in that transcript, it does not mention Lloyds Banking Group. It says HBOS, Halifax Bank of Scotland of Reading. You can't take HBOS away from Lloyds Banking Group because that's the parent company. Originally, it was Halifax. Then they called it Bank of Scotland. And now Lloyds Banking Group has to take criminal liability for all activities of HBOS, Halifax, Birmingham Midshires, and all the other offshoots of those banks.
The pyramid.
And what I'm saying is that although the loan was with Halifax with my sister, they got the name wrong on the mortgage deed, they got the name wrong on the land registry. She couldn't get her life policies when my dad died. They shared the policy. Her name didn't. I couldn't get her life policy because the name is wrong on the land registry. She couldn't get housing benefits. She couldn't get disability because the name is wrong, etc., etc. And at the end of it, she couldn't get survivorship, and the probate is delayed indefinitely because land registry have got to tell me how they got the name wrong as well. So land registry in it, HMRC is in it, Home Minister is in it because the police aided and abetted the theft whilst all these banking frauds have taken place, and she was murdered from extortion by the bank. So we have 5 murders by the banks, my dad's as well, you know, and the local government combined conspiracy to kill us as quickly as possible. So what I'm saying is that transcript, although there's a gag on it and it says HBOS, it actually means Lloyds Banking Group. Right. And it also means Halifax loans that are in, there's no ledger, Anthony, that point of the ledger.
Accounting
how did the ledger, all goes back to ledger. I asked Callum Davis, give me the ledger, and I said, I'm waiting for the ledger. You can't proceed until I see the ledger. And they've gone ahead and done 3 possessions since then. That's the bottom line. Because
they're claiming money and they can't produce an accounting ledger. You said they don't have it, Neelu, but they have it. You know what the problem is? It shows you are the creditor.
Exactly.
So they cannot file it, but you can't get a court claim issued unless you file the ledger, because that is the evidence of the debt. So that's why the court case has to be defrauded. That's what it is. And that's why there can't be a warrant, because you can't be a warrant on a fake court claim, which goes right back to the ledger, which goes back to the lie they told you that they're lending you money when they're taking your signed agreement, not a contract, your agreement, your mortgage and credit card and all that. There's no contract. It's an agreement, which in Black's Law Dictionary, agreement means promise. Promise is promissory note. They bank it as cash. People, normies, listen to this. You got to study and learn. It took me 3 years to digest it. They didn't lend you money. They used your signature as a promissory note. And that's why they're fabricating the court claims, because they cannot make a court claim on something they never lent you. And that's what Neelu is talking about. Where is the accounting ledger? I got one from Barclays Bank for a client, and it shows the client on a £3 million dispute, shows the client as the creditor, and they drop the case. Carry on.
Yeah. So, you know, the criminal parties, there's a contempt of the Criminal Appeals Court. There's a contempt of the civil courts. There's a contempt by the police officers of all of that. The fake bailiffs, they don't ever have a warrant. There's hundreds and thousands of crimes committed by now, and it includes the Solicitors Regulatory Authority. On the record, on court file records, Ellen McLean and Callum Davies are down as the solicitors. On the orders, they're not solicitors, they're not registered. It's the guy they've hired, Walker Morris hired, is called Robert James Payne to do this case, and his name is not on any file. He's an invisible steering the case in a fraudulent manner. He should be struck off. My complaints
well, he's not there. How can he be struck off? He's not on the register. He should be in jail. You know, all these things should go for a trial by jury. You know, trial by jury, because the judges sit on the bench. The bench is the French word for bank. So they're on the banker's book, you know, of bribes. So they won't issue you an order that this claim is fraud. And then the police are coming to keep the peace. What they're saying is you mustn't defend your property against fake warrant, fake bailiff. But in your case, something miraculous happened, Neelu. 3 times in a row, the police actually turned back the bailiffs on the warrant. This is what I find sensational on your case.
No, don't forget the first time I was arrested under the warrant that they didn't have, and I ended up in hospital.
I'm going to explain my interpretation of this event,
okay.
right? You were arrested, okay? We were broadcasting this live on Facebook, and you were tortured for how many hours, not to mention the run-up of months and years before that. So you said to the police, and anybody who get arrested must do this, get your blood pressure checked, because even if they didn't assault you physically, they're assaulting you in many other ways, and it shows in the blood pressure reading. So you had a blood pressure, and it shows you were sky high. You could have had a heart attack there. So the sergeant panicked, and you were asking for the warrant, and the sergeant had to come clean and tell you there is no warrant. And then they took you to the hospital in the police car, to which I believe it was to allow the criminals more time to board up your property. But in the meantime, once they confirm there is no warrant, then arrest must be made. It's the only statute that I know where it has the penalty spelled out in the Act. Section 135, County Court Act, 7 years imprisonment for fabricating a warrant or any court authority. So the police have done half the job. They've determined the proof and the evidence is there. Fraud vitiates all. Once you commit fraud in a case, the case is dead. So that case is over, Neelu, at that point, when they said there is no warrant. Yeah? Legally and lawfully, the case is finished on that point. You only have a criminal pursuit to get a remedy and to prevent these people from re-offending. And then, since that didn't happen, tell me what happened after that.
Because we knew that it was in contempt of the court and my application to dismiss was pending.
Right.
When we changed the locks and we had access only for the administration of my sister's will and her probate and her baby's murder investigation under report 206 of the 18th Law Commission of India under international law, criminal law.
Right.
So the paperwork is in that building, and that's where they want to do what they're doing criminally to because of my whistleblowing of the NHS high death rates, and I dropped the death rate by 30% with my whistleblowing. That's what it's about. And the baby murders and mutilation is all in there. You know, all the Bristol babies, all the Hay scandals, all that Shipman murders, that was all to do with trafficking of organs. Any excuse to steal our birth trust funds in the NHS or public services are designed to speed up our death.
So they wanted to steal your.
I'd made applications for the civil court. Sorry?
They wanted to steal.
Sorry, Anthony, said that.
They wanted to steal the. Are you hearing me? Hello? We have a connection problem here. Let's hope it comes back.
It's breaking up.
Yeah, breaking up, but
it breaks up just when you need to say that one word. Yeah. Anyway,
it breaks up at key points all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. So we were at the point where we were saying one motive is that they want to steal your belongings and evidence, yeah, and your legal material. Which then, but no law allows anyone to touch your legal material. That's, you know, but at the moment, it's going on. They're taking people's things, documents, everything, computers, digital.
In a democracy, under the Public Interest Disclosure Act of 1998, whistleblowers are entitled to armed security if necessary to protect their evidence by the state, you know, provided by the state. And what in this country can't be called a democracy if they're outrightly going out executing whistleblowers, which is with the Julian Assange case, which is slowest execution when they do a series of crimes aimed at causing, inducing death, you know, induced corporate manslaughter. So the civil court has transferred my case back to the criminal appeals court to relook at whether the precedents were sufficient deterrents. And that's where it's at the moment. So these guys are trying to, what do you call it, prematurely act in contempt of all the higher jurisdictions and criminal courts.
So can you explain to us what is the criminal appeals court? Because normally they're running all these things through the civil court because they don't have the necessary material and they work on the basis that the balance of probabilities, which is determined by the judge. The criminal court is more supposed to be jury based. So can you tell us what is the criminal appeals court and how did you transfer the case over there?
So Anthony Stansford, as Crime Commissioner of Thames Valley Police in 2013, started the prosecution of Lloyds Banking Group with top honourable leaders in the House of Lords, like Prem Sikka. And they spent £7 million to prosecute Lloyds Banking Group bankers. There was 15 of them originally, but there was 6 or 7 that were jailed for a total of 50 years in 2017. They were in jail and they tried to get a reduction of the 50 years. So because that was heard in Southwark Crown Court and they had I've been trying to reduce it because that was the maximum sentences ever that the court basically said, no, you got it right, they got it right. But because they then carried on with their frauds, the fraudulent trading, the bankers, and I'm saying there was an insufficient deterrent. So the Criminal Appeals Court has got new evidence to look at it again to make sure that they dissolve the Lloyds Banking Group, Halifax, Birmingham, Midshires. They need to be dissolved and the assets needs to be seized and given to us, right? We don't want compensation while they continue to trade because we're just milking a criminal cow. We don't want blood money. We don't want crime money. They've only got proceeds of crime. These are £200 billion laundered by British banks every year, is what Anthony Stansfield's statement says, which is on swissindo.webs.com under chronology under 2018. And FCA report is there as well about the prosecution, swissindo.webs.com under 2019 chronology section. So those documents have been removed.
Swissindowebs.com.
Swissindo.webs. Yeah, SWISSINDO.webs.com. I put the statement there because they removed it from Thames Valley Police website, and you can't even find it with the search box. The link doesn't work anymore. That's the only place you'll find it, and it's in my chronology because it's very relevant that the gold reset was in 2013, April for June G8 summit. They didn't announce it because banks put the guns to the leaders' heads. President Obama, Cameron, Merkel, Trudeau were all gun pointed by the banks to stop the announcements of Swissindo. The Pentagon had asked for it. Palucci blackmailed them that he would sack them. So banks are running countries since JFK was shot.
Right. Okay, so so you managed to switch it over to the criminals appeal court.
Well, anyone can do that, Anthony. So 2017, if the possessions was money laundering and fraudulent trading, then any possessions after 2017, there's a precedent. You use that precedent of 2020 EWCA CRIM 369. You go to bailey.org, BAILII.org, and type in that or type in Cartwright or Scourfield. It will come up. You read it and it's got a gag on it, so don't publish it because they will just come and break your door and steal everything you've got. But it says only if it's child abuse, but it's just, you know, they should remove that. I don't know how much they're paying to put that there, the Lloyds Bank, I mean. But
so that is
this
what
is
you
a
relied
nonsense
on
we're having to deal with.
That's what you relied on to switch it over to the criminals appeal court.
No, that's the precedent we all rely on, you included.
Okay.
Any possessions since 2017, their criminal prosecution are, as you say, Lord Denning, fraud vitiates all. All go back to reverse it. We don't want compensation blood money. We want the bank dissolved and we share what's there. We take what we need from there to whatever they're worth, 45 billion or trillion or whatever they are worth. We take all the assets of all the UK banks using that precedent that they're continuing with the possessions after they were prosecuted in the criminal appeals, rubber stamped 50 years jail by the criminal appeals court, and they carried on with the crimes after the 28th of February 2020, when the criminal appeals jurisdiction rubber stamped that. But we can go back to the 2017 because they should have honoured, they were in contempt of court if they did any possessions after that time. We have to use the correct language. It's section 4 of the Criminal Law Act 1967 that if you see a crime and you remain silent, you are equally guilty of that crime. And that's the only law that makes silence a crime, because you're impeding the investigation of the crime by remaining silent. So you're party of the crime.
I think there's a maxim of law which is called failure to act, which I believe is probably, this statutory quote 5.4 of the Criminal Law Act 1967. I think that's what it's putting into a statute. So this is very, very good information. And some of these people are law enforcement, police officers, constables, and they're not acting at all.
And there's also Criminal Law Act 77. I don't know the difference between the two, but there are many, many other laws that they're breaching. And I think there's a light newspaper we need to get out there. The light, and that
fantastic paper.
be covering this.
It covers things that the mainstream media, which we call MSM, are not covering under any circumstance, or they cover a little part of it and don't cover the critical part of it. Like the British gas story.
Yeah.
They covered it so wide and far and so much publicity and front page, but they don't mention that they were smashing people's doors with fake warrants. That's our job, Neelu, because this is the bits they're putting out. The entire fraternity of the people who broke these people's door and their bosses, 7 years jail per item. That's what we got a call for.
Well, why don't we dissolve British Gas as well? Because they murdered my sister as well in conspiracy with the local government and the police and the bank. Because I've got a letter from British Gas now saying, we wrote to you to say we'll be breaking in. We're not going to come and break in because we've got a ban for a couple of weeks. And I'm like, that's horrible. Why'd you write to me to say? And then they say, oh, tell us how we did, and I'm like, you're threatening every time they write to me. It's that the League of Nations was set up. We're not allowed anything through our letterbox unless it's from our loved ones. We're not allowed bills or threats. These are all communications. These are all criminal communications to kill us, attempts on our lives, alarm, distress, harassment, intimidation. So we have to set the laws, Anthony. A
lot of people
have to make these laws.
I've seen a few people now removing the letterbox altogether because it's being used as a unlawful entry of fraudulent documents, any unsigned document is a counterfeit.
Yeah.
Fraudulent counterfeiting
It's a good idea.
1991. It says 10 years jail sentence. So how come we are flooded? I mean, look at this. Look at this. This is most of this is fraud. That's today's mail, and where is the law? They're not signing the papers because they have no contract. They can't produce the accounting ledger that you mentioned earlier. But they want to use violence. You have threats, intimidation, deception, but at the very end of it is physical violence.
Well, it's
to take something from you. Sorry, carry on.
No, I was saying assassination attempts, violence in an attempt is an ambush. The number of people, it's funny how the meter people come around the same time as the bailiffs come and they steal your house at the same time. The councils are aware of it. They have to be aware of it, and then they do all of that with the council tax summons in the corridors of the magistrates' courts, breaching your privacy data. I mean, it makes me embarrassed to actually say to the world that this is going on with the most vulnerable people in England. They wait till you get old and you can't defend yourself, and then they come and take everything off you. All they're doing is stealing from the dead, stealing from the elderly. Then they're putting criminals in, drug dealers, prostitutes in these homes, and they're running this empire. This country is full of brothels and drug dealers. That's all it is now.
Well, it's even worse, Neelu. They're taking the children with the false court orders, and then they child trafficking and sex trafficking the children, in these properties and stuff. And I think George had a neighbor. He got rid of one convicted pedophile, and then they put another one in who He has a new baby every
Exactly.
every week. It's a new baby there, and
Yeah.
as far as we know, he's not a foster carer or anything. So the thing is, you know, it comes back into your case where they came after the sergeant determined there was no warrant, released you. You took your property back, removed the metal. God bless Michael. What's his name? Michael Mez. I can't pronounce his name. Melzachik.
Lord Michael Melchizedek Moore. Yeah.
Okay. So
And
he was there.
yeah.
I mean, he was prepared to stand by you and get arrested as well. I mean, where can you get this kind of love and support in this world, Neelu? It's unbelievable.
Like
And we
I
were
say, the
broadcasting it
heavens
live on.
opened up, and yeah, the angels fall out the sky. You know, people have to be
Yeah.
ready to receive from the skies. I don't question any opportunity that comes my way. I don't judge it. I don't distrust anybody. I just think God is overseeing everything. The angels are up there. There's 144,000 angels overseeing this project. And it's just people don't wish enough. They don't want enough. They don't call them enough. They're waiting for orders, these angels. They want orders. They're hunting for orders. They're not getting. People don't believe it's going to be okay. They say,
Yeah.
oh, I'll believe it when I see it. No, you won't see it until you believe it, man. You will not see it until you believe.
Do you have the names of the police officers who attended your property? Because somebody told me it's the same lot who came the first time, came the second time.
No.
Okay.
Completely different, totally different. Yeah.
Right.
I have got the badge numbers. Somewhere.
Yeah.
But we can put them in the text. I can
Okay.
get them
Now,
for you.
I promised I was going to come back about the bailiff calling the police, and you were saying the first one to call the police or whatever. I'll tell you what a police officer told me, and I proved it in a few cases. He told me that the bailiffs, to get the police to come out, they called the police on the record like 4 o'clock in the morning and logged that they're reporting an assault. Yeah, so it's on the system. There's an assault, so the control room can send out the police to tick the necessary boxes because the police cannot come out on a civil matter. So this is how they're engineering it in the background. And then I suggested to you to call 101 and ask them who called the police, what time, what's the officers who come out, what's their names. And I believe I saw an email from Lee Kant who said
he did that.
He called them and they had no record of the call out. Who is your chief constable?
Oh no, they subsequently Stuart Bell.
Okay, now George Carter has done so much work on Stuart Bell, and I can promise you from the evidence I've seen, he is part of the proven violent pedosexual gang, falsely and repeatedly using the authority of the court as cover. Yeah, Stuart Bell. He can come and arrest me for saying this. Yeah. Now, the thing is, on the call, they said they don't have a record, but then they later patched it up and said they have some information. Now, I have the exact same sequence with a guy called Paul Surdock. Yeah, just the same time as your eviction. He called the same exact thing. They told him, we don't have any record of a call. We don't know what time. We don't know anything. And then I think they realized, he videoed it. He's probably put it on YouTube. I don't know. But the rest of the day, he kept getting calls and text messages from the police to try and patch up the information. Because you know what? They panicked. They realized that we're onto them. They are covering up that a false call has come through to justify sending out police to assist the bailiff. Because no crime was committed, and the only crime committed is the bailiff has got a fake warrant, I've got no warrant. In this case, the bailiff gave a false name. And the police didn't arrest him. But they told the guy, if you don't come out of your property, we will arrest you. So the police are by whatever method, I don't know, but they are the violent arm of the crime, which is a financial crime coming right down till they have to steal something from you physically. The police is the violence that is necessary, and people are getting familiar with that. And in your case, massive breakthrough, 3 times in a row, police have determined you got no warrant, leave the lady alone. And I think you'll set a precedent, Neelu, on this one small point.
Yeah, so because we don't expect criminals to go from bad behavior to good behavior, we only expect them to go from bad behavior to very bad behavior. It gets more and more dangerous now with time, that it's unpredictable what they will be planning. They'll be having a round table, the brotherhoods, you know, these top knobs in the public services, they're all guilty of treason. So we need to fumigate the treasonous criminals from public services by making a point that because the UK government owns Lloyds Banking Group, that the Lloyds Banking Group's fraudulent trading that was before the Criminal Appeals Court means that the bank and the UK government are trading fraudulently since that 2017. And that's the point at which we have to insist that because the Criminal Appeals Court rubber stamped what was done in 2017 in 2020, we can use the 2017 date as the date where we reverse all possession. And we have to start gathering the data of all the properties, the children that were taken, including children, because illegal trading, money laundering involves children, with the foster carers are criminals from abroad, brought in by the Winston Leachman types. They were in every court. And they give these children as props to justify the money laundering foster parents to get them to stay here to commit further crimes against us.
The work of Gordon Bowden, B-O-W-D-E-N, he done substantial work in this area, and you know, he came to the conclusion that they were using children who were taken with false court orders as a currency. You know, you can have a little boy for this weekend. You can, for Normies listening to this, Normies, it sounds far-fetched, and sometimes I don't like to say extreme things because it will alienate some people. It's too strong. It's like, it's so wayward. How can it be true? Your guys are, you know, you're conspiracy terrorists, you know. But the thing is, that's a reality. That's what's happening, and it's necessary for you to dig and take some interest. It's your country, your world, your life, you know, and it's your MP, it's your police constable, it's your council chief. So you're paying them. Look at your tax bill, look at what's coming out of your wage slip, and just think, where is this going? You know, Neelu, I just say something quickly, digress a little bit. 10 million people, from what I understand, have refused to send in their tax return this year because the taxman, the way the tax dollar is going, and the repossessed properties, they're not paying any stamp duty or tax or land registry fee. And we caught them out. When I confronted Graham Farrant, who's the head of the land registry on this, he resigned. Maybe there's other reasons why he resigned, but he's resigned. The repossessed properties, they won't. Did you get a bill of sale for your property that was stolen, Neelu? Did they give you any documentation?
I don't recall. getting
They
one.
won't give
No,
you.
I don't.
It's a total
No.
total wipeout on on financial and taxation and money laundering, because people don't bother to check and pursue. It's simple. Where is the bill of sale? I have this problem now. I'm taking it up with Santander, but the banks, they have to give you a bill of sale, and you got to get the documents from the land registry, who signed what, who paid what fee, and then you got to take it up with the tax man. These people didn't pay any tax on my stolen property. What you gonna do about it? In my case, they told me, we're not gonna do anything about it, and we're not gonna ask these people any questions at all. But we want you to file your tax return and make up estimates. This is what the John Thompson and his team at the land registry told me. To make up estimates.
So the latest that, what I can add to that is that when I wrote to the cabinet regarding the banking frauds, that the cabinet passed my email to the HMRC, or the whatever, HM Treasury, and they wrote to me to say they're very sorry, about what I'm going through, that I should contact this fosketpanel.com website, where they're sorting out the finances, the compensation for people who've had their homes removed. So that's FOSKETT panel panel.com. And so I think Lord David Foskett does a 3-minute video there about having processed 100 claims, compensation claims, but I wonder whether these were businesses or homes. But to me, that's not good enough really to go sideways and have to make claims when crimes are committed, and it's for the state to use the precedents to send us our money without us having to claim it once they know that this has happened. So basically the dissolution of all the UK banks and the UK government is the only way forward, because the criminals are still keeping most of our secretly securitized trust funds money, which is worth billions. Each one of us is worth a few billion dollars of our stolen assets that are in secret accounts that we're entitled to claw it back, but we must not call ourselves a straw man, because when you do that, you deny yourself that clawback of your funds, and that's what they want. They want you to cut yourself off from your birth certificate.
Because when they said about the country's GDP, gross domestic product, I was looking into it, and in essence, it's basically our value, sum total of our value, the gross domestic product, what we can produce, our work rate, our energy output, blah, blah, blah. That is the gross domestic product. So they are monetizing us.
Wait, can I interrupt you there, Anthony, because my brain doesn't store information for very long. The total global wealth of the planet is about maximum 450 trillion.
Right.
The USA has about 10% of it. UK probably has 12% of it. Or the population, if you were to calculate it per population, America then becomes the richest country, because it only has a population of 300 million, whereas India has a population of, say, 1.2 billion and China 1.4 billion, whatever. Their per capita, the total global wealth in India is about 2%. China is reasonable, it's like 17%. But basically, China is the only country where they got a reasonable amount per head. But then when you look at the gold value value in today's terms, the total gold is 7 billion kilograms of gold and 70 billion kilograms of precious metals. There is a total of $1 quintillion being given out to us, each one of us, shared equally at $6 million each since 2013, the gold reset.
Yeah.
When this 450 trillion is taken as a fraction of the 1 quintillion, your £1 in your pocket is worth £2,200. That is what your money is worth. So this is where they shrunk the value, our buying power. They shrunk it by keeping our salaries the same. The value of the houses went up doubled every 5-10 years.
Yeah.
The politicians' salaries have gone tenfold of the average salary, and the basic benefits, like I'm only 1% of what the politicians are getting, and yet I'm dedicated to the vulnerable and the dead. I've spent my life fighting for babies who've been murdered by the state. So I'm living, I'm a bigger type, living standard. That's reality of England whistleblowers, that they're punished, tortured, murdered, disappeared. Patrick Cullinane comes to mind, and Julian Anthony Fernandez come to mind. Rita Taylor comes to mind. These were our geniuses murdered, and so it's very sad that we're having to carry the baton for them.
Talking about Patrick Cullinane, there is a connection with your case, yeah? This is very interesting. I guess we could deal with this and then we could end. But I'm going to drop a bombshell here. Because anybody who has an issue with Romford County Court, like yourself.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh,
wow, yeah.
Okay, what we're going to do, I'm going to put into the notes on Facebook. Let me just see something here. I'm going to put the link. But Patrick Cullinane and I got a criminal crime number against Judge Berry, and it doesn't matter which judge or whatever, but anybody can pick up this crime number and use it to do an update online. Anything to do with the judge and the court on fake warrants and stuff like that. Let me just get the link. Where are we? It's not easy to come up on Google. Criminal judge arrest. Where are you? Yeah, because we have an existing crime number. Anybody, including yourself, Neelu, yeah, can just use it. The police have determined in your case, they determined that there was no warrant. So the only thing remains is to arrest the other side. And I believe to push that forward, you need to file a crime report, because the police already made a determination on this. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, also, I do have crime numbers, about 7 of them, from the 19th of October 2022. And this one, the 17th of February 2023, is CAD 2277. If people want to follow up, that the police should have arrested these bailiffs, 11 of them, because they did not produce the warrant after they were told by the King's Bench enforcement to leave. They were told by the police officers to leave. They came back. So
well, what I'm saying,
you
have a CAD number, okay, on this and that. We have a crime number, Neelu, a crime number. Yeah, that means they've investigated and determined there is a crime, and this crime number is against the Romford County Court personnel. So you just can reverse your case into this crime number, because it's an update to the matter. And many people, we have a WhatsApp group somewhere, and there's at least a dozen people there with cases in Romford Court, but I believe it could be used in any court, that the court staff are doing crime. Do you know how we got this crime number, Neelu? I sat in the Romford police station on my ass on the floor from 4 o'clock till 7 p.m. and I said, give me a crime number or arrest me. And when they changed shift and the new shift came on and there was a lot of queues outside of people and they don't know what to do, they gave me a crime number. So we mustn't waste.
Well done. Well done.
Understand?
Yeah.
So the crime number is on that video I
Thank you.
posted on the Facebook link. So it can be engineered because your case is proven. Once the police today haven't got a warrant, it's a question now, how do you progress this down to the next step? And if it comes to it, we're going to have to start doing like they did in Iceland, citizens arrests. You know, in Iceland, they did it en masse. And, you know, when George Carter alone is trying to pursue people, they're all disappearing. They're not answering the phone. They're not coming to work. They're not doing nothing, but they're taking the wages. How is that? Shall we end with that, Neelu?
The arrest, remember, the arrest is going to be for treason in public office, for violating the oath to God to maintain God's laws, to serve and protect God's children, which is the satanic policies of Satan that they're enforcing on us when we're God's children. They can't do that. They're not our public servants. We don't require their services. We don't need serving or protection from criminals who are under Satan's policies to kill us. That's it.
Neelu.
Oh, and the other thing, yeah, sorry, I was going to say, something. The CAD number was one thing. Yeah. So if could we get lists of all possessions since 2017? We make a list of all property then.
Let me make a suggestion. You know, on the Facebook video, anybody can post material that they have or case numbers or so. It's yeah, like a repository type of thing.
Or contact us.
We use the internet in a smart way as possible.
Canvas.tv.
Yeah, we got all the links there. People support the petition. It's heavily suppressed, but every time someone signs the petition, it goes to the 7 top people in government and it takes the whole network with it. So this is to me, this is the most powerful thing we can do to get back on justice. But a lot of people are doing great work. This is what I'm doing. I'm focusing on the false court order. I'm bringing it bang straight to your desk, Mr. Prime Minister, and all your pedo friends. But listen, thank you very much, Neelu.
Thank you.
And God bless. Have a wonderful Sunday.
Thank you very much, Anthony. God bless you, brother. Thank you.